Welcome to Embracing Infinity, exploring the infinite oneness in the space of love and truth. Host Jennifer Rose is an international spiritual medium, healer, channeler, mentor, and transformational guide. Her focus is encouraging individuals to know themselves within the lens of their divine heart and highest potential, to evolve within the frequency of love and peaceful harmony. Now, here's your host, Jennifer Rose.
And I'm muted. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Embracing Infinity. I'm Jennifer Rose, and we're on the Sacred Spiral Network. Happy Friday, happy spring, and I hope you are all having a wonderful day so far, wherever you are in the world. It's a beautiful time to be in a change of seasons, a kind of like a welcoming of new beginnings in. So I'm very excited about that because I love the sunshine. I love the flowers, all of that beautiful stuff there too. So looking forward to a beautiful show with my special guest, Annie Shobe. And she is going to be sharing with us about her childhood near-death experience and all of the beautiful things that we can learn from her story. And again, I hope today finds you well as we are moving into the weekend. I have a couple of quick announcements for you all before we get started. Later this evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time is EVP Explorations with Todd Bates. This coming Sunday is For the Love of Spirit, Sunday Spiritual Service. That is my service that I host and created a few years back. My guest medium this Sunday is Colin Walker, who many of you know and remember. He's been on our show here on Embracing Infinity a couple of times as well. So he will be our guest medium and also be giving us an inspired address. If you would like to attend that and join us, it's a very loving, kind, peaceful space to be in where you can get kind of touched by the love of spirit for sure. Just go to mediumjenniferrose.com and then you can sign up from there. This coming Tuesday as well is Donna Bond's new show, Spiritual Ambition, and it starts at 2:22 Pacific time, which will be 9:22 in the UK. So we don't want to miss that as well. Donna Bond is just lovely too. Take a quick moment to say hi to everybody here before we get started. So hello, Michael Christopher. Welcome. Nice to see you. Hi, Kit Minsky. Nice to see you again. Hello, Jeffrey. Greetings, my friend. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Hi, Trisha. Hi, how are you doing in Georgia? Is it sunny there? I'm wondering. How's the weather there in spring? Hi, Billy. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Hi, Jessie Cat. How you doing, love? Good to see you. I know spring is beautiful. And there's our Jennifer McCormick. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for being here. Hi, Mark John. Thanks for being here too. I want to say hi to Carla. First time here. Welcome. We're kind of like a little family here. So I'm happy that you've joined us. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Aylin. I missed that up there, so I want to make sure I come back to you. Good to see you, Patrick. We've got Carla here. Yeah, there you are, Carla. First time here. Nice to see you. And Mandy Louise Paul. Hello. Hello, Debbie. Hello. I saw Fulham Spiritualist Church is on here. Hello, my friend. Good to see you too. Hello, Fran P. Fran is on For the Love of Spirit. I also call her Queen of the Fairies and Poetess Extraordinaire. She always delivers the most amazing poetry at our services. So another reason you'll want to come and join us to get to be a part of that. Oh, it's cold. Go figure. It's gonna warm up. I feel it for you. I feel it for you. Hello to Sid. Hey, Sid, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Hello, Rebecca. Love and light to you too. Beautiful. Thank you for being here. I see Fiona's just joined us. Thank you for being here as well. So welcome, welcome, everybody. Okay. Now I'm going to be bringing Annie on in just a moment. But I was just feeling inspired by Spirit this morning just to do a quick little rundown of what's going on in the planets. We've got a couple planets in retrograde now. We've got Venus and we've got Mercury and retrograde, both of them. So that's kind of a lot for people to kind of like mull through with those energy changes. And with that, we can have obviously our communication and technology affected. I've been seeing a lot of that happen. Also with Venus, this is going to affect our relationships. This is going to affect our finances. This is going to also go into the area of like health and beauty as well. And we're kind of right at that midpoint because it's a 40-day and 40-night cycle. Imagine that too. So it's at kind of a hot spot right now. So this would be a good time to just really stay grounded, practice self-care. This may not be the time to go change your hairstyle radically or get a tattoo because you might regret it in 20 days from now. So maybe hold off on that. Be careful with finances, be mindful, be kind and gentle with each other, all of those people that you have your relationships with, extra tenderness, extra love, self-care, these kinds of things. Just remember there's a light in everybody, and everybody has a beautiful, sweet child inside of them as well. So I just felt inspired by Spirit just to give that little gentle reminder to everybody. So if you're wondering kind of why things are feeling a little wonky or why you're feeling extra sensitive, we're in a hot spot right now. A week from now, it'll start to be a little bit softer as we move from Aries into Pisces. And then by April 12th, we are out of that retrograde as well. And we'll probably move into a new one by then. So there's always something, everybody. But I did a little research on that, wanted to share it with you. And that can hopefully give you a little sigh of relief to kind of understand what you might be feeling with the energy. So always good to do the grounding, always good to do the self-love. And remember that you can transmute anything that you feel within the energies around you or within you as well, if you go into that beautiful, loving, higher space that we all can access. With that, thank you for listening. I want to say hi to Karen Gibbons. Hello, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ann Iva, for joining us as well. Good to see you. Miss Evelyn, hello. Okay, I'm glad that was helpful for you, Evelyn. Hello, Julie. Nice to see you as well. So thank you, everybody. A 333 and 321 portal today. Oh my goodness. So, yep, it's a hot spot today. So, everybody, buckle your seatbelts, stay grounded, self-love, kind and gentle with each other. This is not the time to do the he said, she said kind of stuff. Let's just hold each other in love and grace. Let's walk with grace. So, with that, so excited to have my beautiful friend Annie on, and we're going to have a lovely discussion here today. We welcome your comments and we welcome your questions. This is a beautiful space of growth and learning and love and togetherness. So with that, let's please everybody welcome Annie Show.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you for being my guest today, Annie. I'm so happy that you're here with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. In this wild astrological year that we have going.
They just popped on my wall when you said that. They just did a little tap. At least Spirit has a sense of humor, right? At least just...
And it's important that we keep ours too.
Yeah, very true. That's very helpful when we can just kind of pull the awareness back a little and just kind of look into it almost like it's, there's a show going on, the greatest show on earth, right? And we just kind of look into and just, kind of have a little chuckle about it because, in the end, we're all going to end up where we're supposed to be.
It's so true. In yoga, they call it like being in the observer or in the witness state. And it is just so important to pull back and not get overly engaged in the drama.
Yeah, I try to practice that as much as I can, and the magnetism of duality is so strong. It takes a lot of like continual practice and grounding and mindfulness to kind of get back into like the observer part too, where you're just kind of like looking into it and holding that space with kind of like compassion and everything too. So we're getting better every day, right?
It's true, and I always say, I have a friend, and I think she's on RG, and she's the one that, like, I can just call up and just say, blah, 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 everything's awful. And then it's like cleared. And so, like, if you have one friend that you can sort of do that with, that you can help clear each other and then move forward, it's helpful to have that too.
Yeah, I so agree. had my friend Valerie on a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about just that. You just need someone to kind of what she called hold the bucket for you, so you could just kind of vomit out all of your feelings and get them all out too. And then it,
Exactly.
like it says, it gets it out of your system, so which allows something new to move in, and you're just like, oh, I feel so much better now. And what a gift to have another human being to hold that container and hold that space for you, right? That's a beautiful gift.
It is. It's a noble role to play.
I agree. I
For
agree.
sure.
I so agree. So great. Want to say hi to Tanya and Dominic, who's joined us as well. If I've missed anybody, I apologize. Gail and Kendra, thank you all for being here too. Occasionally, not everybody's comments makes it into where we're seeing them. So please know I love you. If you haven't heard your name called, please know I love you and I'm giving you my hugs. Hi, Danielle. Thank you for being here. Annie, I'm going to go ahead and read your a little bit about you for everybody so they can get to know you better too.
Thanks.
So, all right, here we go. So Annie Shobe, also known as Nancing, is an inspirational medium, author, public speaker, and photographer. From the time of her own near-death experience when she fell through the ice at the age of 6 and nearly drowned, Nancy has had an insatiable curiosity about the human experience and what lies beyond. Nancy earned her master's in psychology, won national awards in her career as a fundraiser, had numerous personal essays published about death, and the publicity performed her story about her mom titled Death by Design. Since her mother's death in 2014, she has dedicated herself to helping people heal by connecting to loved ones through mediumship and channeling. Her private practice is based out of Southern California, and she serves clients throughout the world. So that's a lot of beautiful things that you're doing.
I wish I knew that person. No, I'm just kidding.
You're so funny.
I think my bio sort of says, could this woman have attention deficit issues? Because I've had a lot of different interests and different ways of being in my life, which as a friend of mine said to me, a friend in Santa Fe, she said, you are the person that I know that has transformed the most times. And I think that's what happens when you're on that spiritual journey, because ultimately you're getting to where you're supposed to be. But sometimes we have to go through iterations of ourselves to find it. So if I know Jennifer, I'm sure you've had that experience. And to anyone listening, like, it's just so important to give yourself grace over that and to not always like, where am I going? I need to be at the end run, because it can take years. It can take careers. It can take all kinds of things. Different relationships. It can take all kinds of things to get there.
Yeah, that's hence the phrase saving grace and amazing grace. It does well too. It can be the thing that helps you get up in the morning and continue walking when you've been through some difficult transformation or difficult life circumstances too. I so agree with you. Beautifully said. Thank you. And hi to Vivian and to RG and Kim Princess, who's joined us as well. So RG was saying, sending love and woo-woo hugs to you both.
I love it.
We love you, RG.
We do.
I'm blessed to have known you for several years now, and you've come onto the service, and you're a very beautiful and bright soul, and I know that has come about. That's who you are as a being, and then all of this transformation that you've gained throughout your life just has continued to show more of that and unfold that for you. So thank you for just being you, first of all. So that's a gift.
Thank you. Thanks. You're sweet. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. How about we talk about your near-death experience? And yours is a bit unusual because you had yours at a very young age.
I did. I did. I always have to take a pause before I talk about it, because it, I think at least in the spiritual world, we talk a lot about near-death experiences, and it becomes almost rote, like, oh, I had this experience, and it's like there's so much depth to it, because there's so much sometimes people talk about it and sometimes people don't, like the trauma that comes with it too. Like where, like you listen to somebody and it's like, oh, I was in a car accident, but it's just comes across as, oh, I was in a car accident and then this happened, but like wrapped within that experience is a lot of trauma. And I'd just like to say that I guess I never realized how much had been wrapped, how much trauma had been wrapped into my experience. So I grew up in Michigan, which is cold, as everyone knows. And I grew up with two older brothers, and they loved to play ice hockey wherever they could. We were a big ice hockey family. I was not, but they were. And my father was involved in ice hockey. So we went to a friend's house and they had a river. So they had the house and then there was a hill and then there was a river that ran by their house. And my brothers were out playing ice hockey with some friends on this river. So me being the probably ever curious person that I still am to this day, and I just remember, and remember this is a 6-year-old memory, so like it's trying to put the pieces together sometimes. But I remember, I don't know if anyone else has this experience, but when you live in a place that has cold weather, if you put wool on, I didn't realize, like, I had a slight allergy to wool, and whenever you get hot it starts itching. And I just remember being in with my mom and her friend in their house, and I was itching, like my wool sweat, like I started to itch, and it was like, I just want to go outside because I want to stop sweating in this wool, this wool sweater with, I don't even know if I had like a little t-shirt on underneath. So my mom said, go on and, go ahead. She opened the door for me, and I was in a snowsuit, which in those days, which is 150 years ago, we have these like big snowsuits with little clasps, and they would clasp the mittens. So you would have your mittens on and your mittens would be like clasped to your jacket. And then I had like the red, I call them rubber ugly boots that little kids wear. And then I think I also had my hat, the little hat on and tied. And I went down to the river to watch my brothers play. And, consciously, that's all I remembered for years, was that moment of being on the riverbank, watching my brothers play hockey. And then the other memory I had is like sobbing hysterically, and my mom's face being in shock. And those are the pieces I lived with for years. And my family's has British by nature. Three of my grandparents came from England, so they have sort of this very stoic nature. So it was never talked about, like me, this, falling through the ice. Nothing was ever talked about, except that once in a while there'd be a reference. Oh, that was when Nancy fell through the ice. But in my name, I go by Annie now, but that's my middle name. But my name as a child was Nancy. So it was just it's just weird, like, to try to be putting these pieces together. And when I was around 45, I don't know why I was gifted with pieces of the memory coming back to me. It does make me understand how, when people have been in serious trauma, your brain can shut down some of the information. So what started coming back to me was being under the water. And I remember looking up as I was sinking. And the river was still running. So even though the ice was formed on top, the river was still running underneath the ice. And I remember if you like look at a kaleidoscope and how everything's fractured, that's what it was like for me. It was like looking up through a kaleidoscope, except it wasn't all different colors. It was shades of grays and blacks and whites. It was just like shades. Um, and I felt held. It's just such a beautiful experience. I felt like my back was up against an angelic presence. And I would say it was a woman. That's how it felt. It felt like a feminine presence to me. And I felt like I was leaning into this, I call her angelic being, and she had her arms wrapped around me. And I remember seeing her hands, and I remember just feeling, so I went from that very cold, wet, sodden state of being everything, my whole body being infiltrated with this very cold water, ice cold water, to starting to sweat. So I don't know if hypothermia was starting to kick in. And then I went from the panic of, oops. I mean, that's kind of what happens when something happens really fast, is like, oops, I stepped in the wrong place, to feeling so held and so peaceful and so loved. It's like, there's nothing here. Like, just think about someone you love so much who's like holding you in embracing you in that hug, and you feel so loved, and then magnify that by like 150 times. And that's how I felt. It's like, it's really indescribable with words that we have here. And then I remember as I was looking up, a light coming through, but I have to say, I honestly thought, and I still think, it was the sun coming through the hole in the ice. Like, I don't know, but that's how I perceive it. I don't perceive it as I was seeing the light. I was actually feeling like I was just seeing the light, the sun coming through the hole in the ice. And then and then the other thing that was so weird is I wasn't moving, so I should have been moving downriver. I should have been even under the ice, like, I should have still been, but I wasn't. And the next thing, which, this isn't sequential, it's kind of all this garbled, um, thing in my mind, but, I saw, if you're like a photographer and you see like a lot of light behind something, it creates a shadow of the thing that's in the forefront. And I saw what appeared as like a shadow of an arm coming into this hole and like grabbing me. And that's the I don't re- I have no I still don't have any memory of being yanked out. I don't have any memory of, was I put on the ice? I don't know. I don't know what happened. Thank God my oldest brother was aware and saved me without going in himself, because it's really common for somebody trying to save somebody who has fallen through the ice, where the ice cracks and then they are lost too. So he maneuvered that, and I'm ever so grateful for that. He will not speak about the experience. So I've never been able to get his side of what happened. So all I know is the one time when he did speak of it to his wife, she said he was just sobbing. So I don't like, I would love, my curiosity would like sort of, I'm like a detective. I want to put everything together. And I guess by the grace of God, I'm just given what I can handle when I can. So it's, yeah, there's just, and now like looking back, in life. One time my sister lives in Seattle, and one time I was visiting her in Seattle, and we went shopping, and we went to Urban Outfitters. This was years ago. And they had like it was like a 2-story window that was the front of their store, and it was shattered glass. And I remember my sister's like, I'm gonna go in and shop, and she was taking kind of a little bit of time, and I just sat there. I mean, now I think about it, I must have looked so weird, but I remember just sitting there for like the entire hour. She was shopping, just looking at this glass with all the fractures. And when she came out, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "This wall, it's just so fascinating." And she was like, "Okay, like, time to take you home or get you a cup of tea or something." But but now I realize it was bringing up that memory of
Right.
being under the ice. I mean, the closest thing that I can, not that anybody wants to experience it, but is either looking through a kaleidoscope or, like when I was a kid, my grandfather used to give me his prescription glasses that were pretty strong, and so everything seemed kind of wavy and out of place. So that was another, like that's like another experience I've had that sort of simulates that same, experience of what it looked visually to me, but, just this angelic presence. And I used to do some work with Raymond Moody, his assistant. And anyone who hasn't heard of Dr. Moody, he's phenomenal. He's getting quite up there now. He was the creator. He's a psychiatrist who actually kept coming across the experience of NDEs. And so he actually started writing about it. So he was the first person that coined, as far as I know it, he was the first person that coined that. So I knew his assistant. And so I was helping them on a volunteer basis with something. And she said to me before I started working with them, she said, "Could you describe your NDE to me? I want to hear," because they're very curious about NDEs. And I told her, and I said, "I just really remember this like feminine being's hands." And she said that's really common for child NDEs to remember hands, like being held, or just hands and not even other pieces of it. So that was very fascinating to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that story too. We felt it, we felt it. And when you talked about being held by the angel, um, and that feeling of not being able to describe it in words, I got like a little tap on the wall, the first one, and then when you're like, you can't describe it in words, and then it got louder over there too. So I was like, "Ooh."
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's
that was that was amazing too. And I would imagine that since you've been a little girl, you've felt open to the spirit world, from having that experience, or even before that, that it would have, you know, expanded your intuition, or your openness to that space. It feels to me like you've kind of straddled it for ever since then. Would
I
that be correct?
yeah, you know, there's two things I need to say. The first is that it's really common for people who have NDEs to then become very intuitive afterwards.
Mm.
So, I think if you know somebody that has a near-death experience, if you can, give them that space to be able to explore their intuitiveness, because it's kind of freaky, I mean, we all know, we've been there, all of us, right? We've all had that like freaky experience. Um, but the other thing is, I just find this so weird. So I was 3, I think, when John F. Kennedy was shot, which is sort of a weird, timely thing right now with all the thing coming out, all the information coming out. And I remember I didn't understand who a president was. I didn't understand assassination. I didn't understand any of that. Like I was grew up, pretty sweet, innocent Midwesterner. And I remember my entire family, like I remember being in the house and everyone's mood changed. And I still, like, when I think about it, I can still feel the dense. It became like the house became dense. And I remember turning to my mom and saying, "What's happening?" And my mom said, "The president was just shot." And I remember I had no reference what that meant. But what it meant to me was that everyone in the house had suddenly become very sad and very quiet. And so I think I was definitely born empathic, like I think we have like emotional constitutions, and that was one of mine. But then I'm sure the near death experience, because they say once you almost touch that world, then you come back and it's easier to go over.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Annie. Tanya was sharing that she had when she was 3 years ago, I'm sorry. She's saying, oh, her great niece had a drowning experience 3 years ago, and she was about 2 years old, and now she sees and hears spirit at 5. So that goes along with what oh, I got chills with that. Thank you
I
for
did
sharing.
too.
Yeah.
Yes. And Tanya, just give her the space to let it. I mean, I'm sure you do. I feel like you do, but just give her the space to have someone to talk to about it. Like no one ever brought it up again in my family. So it just became this stuck story. And I think for all of us, if we just have one person, this makes me want to cry, but one person that will listen to our stuck stories, what a difference we could make in healing throughout the world.
Yeah. Yeah. One person to listen to our stuck stories. Yeah.
That's all we need.
It's all we need. I remember doing a reading for a woman several years ago. It's been a long time, and she had a near-death experience when she was a child, and it just came to my memory when you were sharing your story, and I had, it's been so long I'd forgotten all about it, but she fell off a bridge into the mud, and then an angel came, and this is what I had picked up in the beginning, was this angel, because I mostly connect with loved ones, but this angel showed up front and center at the very beginning, and lifted her back to the top of the bridge. And she didn't know how she got there, from her, from the time that she had had passed away. She got back up to the top of the bridge so that she could go home. And of course she was covered in mud. So it's like, how did she? So it's another one of those, like, that was a big wow too. And I'm not sure if anyone here can relate, but some people have kind of what I would call a living near-death experience, because you have like a health issue that kind of takes you kind of to the brink, over time, kind of, if that makes sense too. And so you're kind of in that space, but you don't actually have a passing away to where, your heart is stopping or your brain waves are stopping or anything measurable like that. It's just because your health is in such a space that you're kind of like over there too, and not so much here anymore, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, that's a thing too, when people go through that as well too. So,
can I bring up a point about that too?
Oh, please do. Yeah, please do.
So when I was in my 20s, I was a single mom, and I was the director of marketing and communications for this complex of hotel, theater, restaurant. It was like and I worked a lot of hours and was a single mom. So anyone who's been a single mom or a single dad knows what that's like. So it was, I was up there on a Sunday with my daughter, and this is like probably really wrong to be doing now, but we were taking bread and feeding the ducks from the pond, because there was like this big pond, and so it would be like something that was easy for me. It wasn't too stressful, and she loved doing it. It was just something where I could be really pretty, tired and still be entertaining her. So we were sitting there and she was feeding the ducks, and this man walks up to me and he said, he started talking to me, and within like a minute or two, he said, "You work really hard." And I said, "I do," but it was kind of like that. How does he know? Like, I don't know this guy. How does he know I work really hard? And then he said, "I'm really concerned about you." And I was like, okay, this is like, it's like strangely interesting and strange at the same time. It was like this two-edged sword. And he said, well, if you don't start taking better care of yourself and stop working so hard, you're going to get sick. And I was like, wow, like, I mean, it just struck me. And he was adorable. He was like an older man with white hair and like a white beard, and he had bright blue eyes. And I remember thinking, wow, what a strange conversation. And so then my daughter turned to me and she said, "May I have some more bread?" So I turned to him and I said, I'm going to give my daughter some more bread. She was literally like 6 feet away. And I said, "Don't leave. I want to keep our conversation going." So I went and handed her the bread, and I turned back and he was gone. And the pond was not very big. And so I grabbed her hand and I said, "Let's go see if we can find that man I was talking to." And we started walking around, and there was no man that we could find, which was very weird because it wasn't like a lot of tree, you could see. And I was like, wow, that's just a really weird experience. And then I started smelling lilacs everywhere. And this was in Southern California. And now they've hybridized lilacs so that we get them here now. But in those days, they weren't here. It was more of an East Coast thing. And I thought, no, is that really lilacs? Like, it was so strong. And then there was night blooming jasmine blooming just off to the side. So I'm like, no, that must be night blooming jasmine. And I went up and smelled it, and I'm like, no, it's the lilacs. It's definitely lilacs. So I went home, and I've always been a journal keeper, and I wrote in my journal the experience because it was just so odd, like this man who knew me, who I didn't know. So about 8 years later, I still work like I did before, and I got sick with autoimmune thyroid disease. Then a couple years after that, I was reading George Anderson's book. I think it's called Lessons from the Light. I can't remember anymore if that's the title. And in the book, he said that whenever deceased people come to him, he smells lilacs. And I remember reading it, and I was like, and I told my husband at the time, I'm like, read this, because he knew this story. And then, so I feel like it was another angel some sort of, real ancestor who I didn't know that came to me. But a couple, like a year ago, I have all my journals packed away in the garage, and I was like, was that real? You know how you start I'm coming from a very scientific family, so we always like are, you have to have the analysis of everything. So I'm like, okay, I just really want to double check if that's real. So I went through my journals and I found it, and his name was Hal. I didn't remember that, but in my journal, I read this man and his name, and he told me his name was Hal. And I'm like, okay, Hal, wherever, wherever if that was just your one job to try to wake me up, or if you are always with me. I do feel the presence of the female angel that was with me. I've felt her off and on my entire life. So, but Hal, not as much, but I do believe, and I'm sure most people do, that these people come, and presences and beings and incredible people come to try to help us and give us guidance and wake us up, which Hal didn't do. I mean, he tried. I didn't listen.
Yeah, I can relate, because what I would call my living NDE was, and thank you for sharing that. And yes, please give the ducks vegetables, fruits, or duck food if you can. the bread is not so good for them.
No, it's not.
I'm a duck lover, so
We didn't know that.
I know. I'm a duck lover, so I learned that too. Go buy duck food from the feed store, or give them lettuce, things like bugs, things like that.
Real things.
They need proper protein, or they get what's called angel wing, which is not good, where it's sticking out permanently and they can't fly or swim properly without proper nutrition. Yeah, I know. I'm a duck lover.
Oh.
But for me, because it was I had anemia, and that was like my thing, because my numbers got so low. But because I was also spiritual, I just attributed everything to that. And I had people saying, you should get that checked. You should get that checked. You should. And I wasn't listening. Like with Hal, the same thing. They're like, I don't think it's normal for you to look that dizzy. Like, you should get that checked. Finally, I did, thank gosh. But then I realized why I was so connected to that. I was like so connected with that. And so I highly recommend everybody takes care of their health. That's why I'm such an advocate of it these days too, is it's important as well. But I'd like to get to a couple of our guest comments here too. And if I may say hello to everybody who's joined us since we began. If you didn't catch the beginning of Annie's story, please go back and watch the replay. And if you would also, I forgot to say earlier, hit the little reaction button, the little heart button on the post. It will help more people see it and want to watch and recap too. Share, subscribe, tag your friends. Thank you. I appreciate that too. I'd like to go to Ellen's comment. There she is. When her father died, when her father died, I didn't know before entering his building 4 floors down. I heard the silent. I knew immediately that he was dead. No one I know understands what I mean by hearing the silence. Do you understand it?
I think I understand it in relationship to like the JFK story, where I don't know who came up with that incredible saying, but silence can be deafening.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens. And when we have the understanding soul wise that somebody's passed, because there's so much emotion that comes with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And also, there's a group here. I live in Santa Barbara that actually it's called Shared Crossing Project. And it's kind of taking Raymond Moody's work the next step forward. And the man who started it is William Peters, and he works with like researchers. So they're doing research to back it all up, but just about a shared crossing experience. A lot of us, when somebody dies, whether we're with them or we're not with them, we often will have a shared crossing experience with them. I know that, I would assume that's kind of what you had too, is that, so we kind of go into that vortex, that alternate space with them. I know before I've seen some people pass, I've seen their souls leave their body before they're dead. Like they can be, technically alive for a couple more days, but I've seen their souls like lift up out of their body. So, there's just, some people, room shift shapes, like the room will all of a sudden turn into this weird space.
Yeah.
With my father, he told me 2 weeks before he died, he had been sick a long time. So the fact that he would be dying wasn't a surprise, but he came and told me that he was leaving me a compass as a symbol of him guiding me. And whenever I saw it, to know it was him, which was interesting, because he did work with a car company, but he never had a compass on him. He didn't have a compass in his car. So it wasn't like a symbol I would have associated with him. And since then, that symbol's come up a lot. So there's some, like when you have like a pre-death experience with somebody, there's just a lot of different realms. And I think a lot of times we don't believe it's what's happening, or we're overwhelmed already with the person passing. So then to have that experience just like lifts that into that like, oh no, I can't deal with it. I don't, I don't even want to go and think what's happening here. So
Yeah, yeah. I was feeling that too. It's like the atmosphere changes.
mhm.
Jack Handel can relate to. He was saying time stands still, and he senses the lull, and then he knows someone's passed from that.
Yeah,
It's just
no,
not, yeah, because the atmosphere changes, and you go into, like you said, that vortex space too. Sometimes people will feel like a little whoosh go by them or something like that, and so the spirit world has its way of making itself known.
for
Uh,
sure. It's
Ooh, they just
I
that was
heard that. What was that?
that was them.
I could hear that on my end.
They communicate with me that way a lot. I know,
I love it.
I know. I get license plates too all the time, like every day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just such a gift to have that ability to be present with both sides. I think people who, you know, parts parts of humanity aren't meant to understand it. Some are meant to not understand it and begin to understand it. And some are meant to sort of be the guides. And so I think always, but probably now even more so with all the global shifting going on, that it's really, really important to stand up in your power, to be a presence, to be a teacher, to have the patience and the grace to let people share their stories, help them unstuck their stories. And with all that love and connection, things can shift in a really positive way. So I just like call on all of us. And you know what? I have a 8 to 5 job, and sometimes I get caught in that, and sometimes I forget what my bigger purpose is. But it's just so important for all of us right now, as it always is, but I say even more so now because of the global shifting. And I do feel a lot more people are coming into this awakening of the other side and spiritual and who am I as a soul. And so however we can hold their hand, just like my brother grabbed me and pulled me out from under the ice, like we are all doing that for one another. And it's really important, vital, vital work.
yeah. That handle, like in the dark, when somebody's in that dark space, because the dark night of the soul, lots of people are getting in and out of it too. And I've been there myself. And so you have somebody that holds on to you, to remind you you're not alone. That's one of the hugest gifts you can give. And this is where it's the angels are through the people. It's the angel on earth is giving that hand to hold. So that was very beautiful what you shared. Thank you, Annie, too.
and
Um,
and and listen to whatever guidance. I know I heard a man speak one time. Can't remember if it's Parker Palmer or Palmer Parker. I forget which way his name goes, but um, he said he had depression issues, and he said he had one friend that would just come in and massage his feet. He wouldn't say anything to him. He wouldn't have any expectations of him having a conversation with him. But he said when he was at his lowest, his friend would just like come over and just sit with him with his feet on his friend's lap, and he would just massage his feet. And he said, that was the world for me then.
Sometimes it's the simple things, isn't it? I mean, that's a beautiful, magical experience too, but just the simple things of that, like just that tender touch of love, like holding somebody's hands or giving a smile. I mean, it really is that simple. And we keep thinking, well, are we supposed to be doing all this stuff and all this, and it's like, it's the little things can be huge. So there's something everybody can do to make the lives of someone else better. Yeah. Thank you.
100%. Yeah, I listened to a NDE once, and the woman was in a car accident, and she said as she rose out of her body, or I might have read this, I can't remember if I read it or heard it. As she rose out of her body, she saw the people on the freeway she could hear them, like, oh my God, I'm going to be late to work now. And, she could hear all their things. And she said one woman sat there and prayed for her. And she said that when she rose out of her body, this is still slightly unbelievable to me, but she saw the license plate of the woman. And anyways, she somehow reconnected with her and thanked her for praying for her, instead of all the other messages of like, oh no, now there's this accident. I'm never going to, I mean, haven't we all felt that being on the freeway? And so even just sitting in your car and saying a prayer when the freeway is slow because there was an accident up ahead is the smallest thing that we can do to really change, to shift.
Yeah, I agree. I've been there. I felt that shift when I've been on stuck on a freeway, and like there's been an accident, and especially if it's been a passing too. You can, again, there's that silent, palpable feeling, like everybody can feel it. You don't have to be a believer to feel that feeling too. And it's that makes me think too, because that soul is probably aware of all of the thoughts, right, too. So that prayer that's healing. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Makes a difference. Yeah.
I wanted to pull up Jennifer's comment too. She's talking about Jennifer McCormick. Deidre, if you could put that up at 1241. It's really freaky, and no two are the same. She had an NDE in 2004 during a medical procedure. Just felt strange and in pain for weeks after. Only on my spiritual journey, which started in 2007, have I been able to make sense of it and piece more together. That sounds like your story, Nancy. Yeah, Annie, sorry. I am definitely not who I was. I've lost my mom 7 years ago and my twin flame just over 2 years ago. So grateful for my intuitive guidance and where I am today, despite the pain and trauma I have gone through, to still be here. And then she's got two young children. So it cut some of the comment off there. Sorry about that, Jennifer, too. But thank you for sharing your story. Jennifer comes on our show a lot too, and shares too. So, you just got a pop from spirit, Jennifer, too. So, and I know you lost your mother as well in about the same time span too. So you can relate to what that loss feels like, and what you've been able to create, and how you've been able to heal from that in her honor as well.
Yeah, it's really important. I don't think I work a lot with grieving and grief, and I don't think people know, even with me, with all the work I do, how much grief there is in this world. And there's just grief. I mean, it doesn't have to be grief from somebody passing. Although, Jennifer, thank you for sharing your beautiful story. It can be grief from someone hurt my feelings and I'm grieving, that what they said to me. So it's just really important to help work through your grief too, because I always say we don't end up going back to who we were when we have these experiences. We create a new us. We have a new beginning. So just give yourself the space for that new beginning. Or if you're in the middle of healing, give yourself the grace for the healing.
Yeah. Amazing Grace. Maybe we should listen to that later.
Well, actually, both my names, Nancy and, so this is how I always laugh at this. Nancy is derived from the name Anne. So I always tell my parents, I used to tell my parents when they were alive, great, you guys named me the same name twice. But both of them mean grace. So I don't know if that means I'm hexed because I have two of the graces, or if it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing too. So that's so beautiful too. I wanted to acknowledge, I know we're getting a little close to time, but I wanted to acknowledge Tanya and Alan real quick too. Again, Tanya's saying, in the middle of a search for a woman in her town who was murdered. Her journey started 1.5 years ago. Now sense and feel them touch me. I've heard them speak out loud. I've missed my own family and then was placed in this world unexpectedly. Never met her, never in a million years would have imagined this. So yeah, more more
fascinating.
spiritual experiences. Yes, thank you for sharing, Tanya.
Yeah.
And then Alan was also commenting what you said about the soul leaving the body. I remember when my grandmother died that night, woke up and saw and heard her. She was standing towards me and waving and said goodbye with the most happy voice and feeling. I took a screenshot in my phone to remember the time. My mother called me in the morning and told me that my grandmother died a couple of hours after she came to me to say goodbye. Wow. Thank you
Wow.
for sharing that too. Another beautiful story. So, I mean, and I think it just reminds me that these like little miracles and these things that these unexplained things that you can't explain happen all the time to so many people. And if that isn't a reminder that the spirit world is here with us and that we are spirit, I'm not sure what is, it's like we're so connected. Yeah. Yeah.
We are so connected. And I just wanted to just
Please.
remind everyone to like offer yourself the space to be with spirit, because I think especially in Western culture, it's like, how fast can I go? How, I got to get this done and this done and this done. We're in such a productivity cycle, and I just offer you like get up 10 minutes early, and which some people are like, oh, no way, but 10 minutes can just start your day, with checking in. Or I love the music out of Africa. I always have. I literally saw the movie 10 times in the theater when it came out. That's like pathetic, but it's true. And so now before I go to sleep, I play out of Africa. I play a 15-minute segment of the music from it. And it just puts me into this beautiful, peaceful state, where messages can come through, or where I'm just relaxed to just be open. So just a reminder to gift yourself that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Annie. Yeah. You're so beautiful.
Oh, well, this is really funny, Jennifer, but my angel looked a lot like you.
Well, thank you.
Her name's Isabella. She did come through to me with her name, but yeah, like she had like long blonde hair and just shimmered, and so very, very similar to you.
Thank you. That's a very generous compliment. Thank you.
Oh,
Deirdre, if we could put how people can find Annie, how our guests can find Annie, if we could put her links in the comments, I'd so appreciate it. Deirdre is filling in for Kelly, who's on travel, working in Oregon this weekend. So I want to give her a shout out for taking good care of us here today on the Sacred Spiral Network on Embracing Infinity. She's very gracious to do so. Thank you, Vivian. We are also so deeply loved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We forget how loved we are. We forget in the humanness of everything, that spirit loves us so much just the way we are. We're just perfect and beautiful just the way we are. And if we can be that for each other too, love somebody for all of them, like what a gift that is. So I think we've touched on some incredible beauty here today. So I want so gracious and grateful for you for your gracious time today to spend with us and share. We feel you, like I feel the spirit. So I'm just like,
oh, thanks, Jennifer. Thank you. And thank you to everyone. Thank you. I really appreciate the invitation and the time. And I appreciate all of you giving up your time too. And keep doing the work. I'm rooting you on.
I'm rooting you on too. I didn't even get to talk about your photography or your writing, so maybe we could come back together in the future and do another show, because I was all excited to talk about that too, with you too. Is there anything coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I actually, I also do some spiritualist services. So I have one come out of the UK on Thursday. It's called Seaford Spiritualist Church in the UK. So that is at 11, when we get this time right, 11, well, it's actually 12:30 because they don't have their time change yet. So it's 12:30 Pacific time. And then I will also be on Harmony of Spirit on the following Sunday, which is 10 o'clock That is in the US. They're based out of Illinois, and it's at 10 o'clock on Sunday. So I have both of those, and love to invite you if you want to even just reach out. And I mean, I also do mediumship readings, but even if you just want to reach out and tell me your near-death experience or just something that's spiritually important to you, please, I'm available for all of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And we're blessed to have you on for the Love of Spirit back in January. So yes, Annie is an excellent medium too. So I highly recommend I know Seaford, Robin Hodson is the president of Seaford Spiritualist Church, right? Too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lovely service. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us. And let me know, because I have so much going on. I might, the dates might get off of me too. Let me know, because I really like to attend. So thank you again, Nancy. And thank you everybody who has joined us here today for your time and your love and your positivity that you always bring. I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. Please have a safe and blessed weekend. We will be back on Embracing Infinity next Friday. May all of this love and healing space that we've been in be infinitely multiplied and spread across our planet, so that every being of consciousness can feel loved and seen and heard and cared for. And we do wish for more peace and food and shelter for everybody, especially our kids, especially the children. They need us the most. So with that, everybody, please live well, love well, and love you well. And I got chills with that. So it's been a beautiful time together, and we will come to a close. So thank you again, Annie, and goodbye, everybody. Have a
Thank
beautiful
you.
weekend.